Tired of spending hours at the gym without seeing results? Building muscle isn't just about lifting weights. It involves several key factors that you must apply to maximize your gains. In this series, we're going to walk you through the 3 pillars of muscle growth. Today, we're diving into the first pillar, strength training. This type of training focuses on challenging your muscles with external resistance to create mechanical tension. For example, you can use free weights, your body weight, or gym machines. These workouts provide the stimulus your muscles need to grow through 3 mechanisms, with mechanical tension being the most important, followed by metabolic stress and muscle damage to a lesser degree. As a result, your body starts to adapt. Muscle protein synthesis increases, leading to muscle growth. Additionally, there are several training variables that determine the success of your training, and the 4 most important ones are: 1. Training volume. Training volume refers to the total amount of work you do in a session or over a specific period, like a week. For practical purposes, you can measure this as the total number of effective sets you perform. An effective set is one that provides enough stimulus for hypertrophy, meaning it pushes you close to muscle failure. Evidence shows that more volume leads to more hypertrophy, but only up to a point. Going too high without proper recovery can backfire. Current research suggests that for muscle growth, the sweet spot is around 10 to 20 effective sets per muscle group per week, spread over 2 or more sessions. For example, you could hit this volume for your chest by doing 4 sets of barbell bench presses and 4 sets of cable flies in one session, followed by 4 sets of incline bench presses and 4 sets of machine presses in another session. That would give you a total of 16 effective sets per week, split between 2 sessions. And remember, the ideal volume for you depends on your training level. If you're just starting out, stick to the lower end, and as you advance, gradually increase the volume toward the upper limit. 2. Effort level. This refers to how challenging each of your sets are. The easiest way to measure this is by calculating your reps in reserve, or RIR, which indicates how many more reps you could have done before hitting muscle failure. Research suggests that keeping 1 to 3 reps in reserve during most sets is optimal for hypertrophy. This approach allows you to maintain a high level of effort without reaching muscle failure, which could lead to excessive fatigue, particularly in exercises that require a high level of technique. However, while you don't need to hit failure every time, it's important to have at least experienced it once so you can accurately gauge your reps in reserve. 3. Training frequency. Frequency refers to how often you train a specific muscle group or do a certain type of workout each week. Increasing frequency can be an effective strategy to improve both strength and hypertrophy, as long as it allows for adequate recovery. Current evidence recommends training each muscle group at least twice a week to see significant improvements. More advanced lifters may need a higher frequency, provided they can recover from it. 4. Load and repetitions. For muscle growth, the recommended rep range is quite broad, spanning from 3 to 20 or more repetitions. In fact, research has shown hypertrophy can be achieved with both moderate to low weights and high reps, as well as with heavy weights and fewer reps. However, we don't recommend going to any extremes. For example, in one study, 30 young men trained their biceps and quadriceps with unilateral exercises, using the same volume and pushing close to failure, but with different loads on each side. The first group used 20% of their 1 rep max on one arm and leg, and 40% on the other side. The second group compared 20% with 60% of their 1 rep max, and the third group compared 20% with 80% of their 1 rep max. At the end of the study, the 20% load resulted in less muscle growth, even though the total training volume was the same. So, no matter how many reps you choose to do, make sure you're using a weight that's challenging enough and that you're getting close to failure with each set. As a rule of thumb, if you can do more than 30 reps with a weight, it's probably too light. Also, it's very common to hear that the ideal rep range for hypertrophy is 6 to 12 reps. And while hypertrophy can happen outside this range, it is a practical guideline, as this range offers high levels of mechanical tension and allows you to reach the recommended training volume without accumulating too much fatigue from either doing too many reps or lifting too heavy. On another note, as you continue to train, your muscles will adapt, and there will come a point where your current training is no longer enough of a stimulus for hypertrophy. That's why it's essential to train using the principle of progressive overload. This means that as you improve, you need to make your workouts increasingly challenging. You can do this by adjusting one or more of the training variables we've discussed. For example, you can increase the number of reps, sets, the weight you're lifting, or up the difficulty of the exercises by improving your technique, using more controlled movements, a greater range of motion, etc. In summary, to master the training pillar, make sure you're working each muscle group with 10 to 20 effective sets per week, spread over at least 2 sessions. Push close to failure in each set, use challenging weights, and apply progressive overload as you improve. The next pillar for muscle gain is nutrition, which we'll cover in detail in the next video. Subscribe so you don't miss it.